No matter how strong we are, none of us can resist the negative impact of bad influences. Are you wondering what you should avoid above all else? My advice is to stay away from crowds. You can't yet trust yourself to be safe in such situations. I must confess that I struggle with this myself. I never come back from a crowded place the same person I was when I left. Something deep within me that I've worked hard to keep calm is awakened, and old enemies that I thought I'd defeated come back. It's like being sick for a long time. You can't leave the house without risking a relapse. So when we're recovering from the illness of our souls, we need to be careful about the situations we put ourselves in. Spending time with crowds is dangerous. Every person has their vices, and being around them can make those vices seem more appealing to us, or even rub off on us without us realizing it. And the larger the crowd, the greater the risk. We're more likely to be negatively influenced when we're surrounded by a lot of people. Nothing can harm your character as much as getting into the habit of idly lounging around at entertainment events. It's at these moments of pleasure that vices can creep in unnoticed and corrupt us. Let me explain what I mean. When I'm around other people, I find that I become more greedy, ambitious, hedonistic, and even cruel and inhumane. To give you an example, I recently attended a midday show expecting some fun, humor, and relaxation, something to take my mind off the violence and brutality of the world. But what I witnessed was the complete opposite. The previous fights were merciful compared to this. Now it's pure murder. The fighters have no protective gear, and every blow lands with lethal force. Many people actually prefer this type of show to the usual matches or fights that are requested. And it's easy to see why. There's no armor or shield to protect the fighters, and skill doesn't really matter. All it does is delay the inevitable, death. In the morning, they throw people to the lions and bears. At noon, they throw them to the crowd. The audience insists that the winner must fight again, and they always save the latest victor for another butchering. Every fight ends in death, and the weapons of choice are fire and sword. And all of this happens while the arena is empty. You might argue, but he was a highway robber and a murderer. He deserved to be punished. But even if that were true, what have you done, my poor friend, to deserve watching this spectacle? In the morning, the audience shouts, "Kill him! Whip him! Burn him! Why is he such a coward in the face of death? Why is he striking so weakly? Why isn't he dying bravely? Let's whip him until he's ready to face his death. Let them fight bare-chested and receive blow for blow." And during intermission, they even announce a bit of throat-cutting to keep things interesting. It's a barbaric display of violence and bloodshed. Don't you see that setting a bad example has a negative impact on the person observing it? Thank the immortal gods that you're showing cruelty to someone who isn't capable of learning to be cruel. Young people who haven't yet developed a strong sense of morality need to be protected from the influence of the crowd. It's too easy for them to follow the majority. Even great figures like Socrates, Cato, and Laelius could have been swayed by a crowd that didn't share their values. The truth is that no matter how strong we are, none of us can resist the negative impact of bad influences that come with such a large following. One instance of indulgence or greed can cause great harm. A close friend who is extravagant can weaken and make us soft, without us even realizing it. A rich neighbor can stir up our desire for wealth. A companion who is prone to gossip can tarnish our reputation, even if we are blameless and honest. So, what do you think will happen to our character when the world at large assaults it? We must either conform to the world or reject it. Instead, you should avoid both options. Don't imitate the bad just because they are many, and don't despise the many just because they are different from you. Instead, withdraw into yourself as much as possible. Surround yourself with those who will help you become a better person. Welcome those whom you can help improve as well. The process is reciprocal because people learn while they teach. There is no reason for you to be proud of advertising your abilities and desiring to recite or preach before the general public. If you possessed a set of skills and knowledge that would appeal to the general public, then I would support your desire to showcase them to such an audience. But there is not a single person among them who would understand you. Perhaps one or two individuals may come your way, but even they will have to be molded and trained by you to understand your ideas. You may ask, what was the point of learning all these things? But do not fear that you have wasted your efforts. for you have learned all this for your own benefit. So that my learning may not benefit me alone, I will now share with you 3 excellent sayings I have come across that express the same idea. In this letter, I will give you one of them as repayment of my debt to you, and the other 2 you may consider as an advance contribution. Democritus once said, "To me, one person is worth as much as a multitude, and a multitude as much as one person." Also someone, although it's uncertain who, spoke the following noble words when asked about the point of studying an art that would only benefit a small number of people. "I am satisfied with few, satisfied with one, or even satisfied with none at all." The third notable saying comes from Epicurus, who wrote to a fellow student, "I am not writing for the public, but for you, for each of us is a sufficient audience for the other." Lay these words to heart, my friend, so that you can reject the pleasure that comes from the approval of the crowd. Many people may praise you, but if you are someone who can be understood by everyone, would you be pleased with whom you've become? Your good qualities should be directed inwards. Farewell, my friend. This was the 7th moral letter to Lucilius from Lucius Annaeus Seneca on crowds, paraphrased by Stephen Shade. Thank you for listening. Comment below. Who should you be spending less time with? Who should you be spending more time with? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.